Like, she's the best gang member. She's the only one who's got her shit together.
I want a woman who's that loyal. She
right?
That's going to fight off the feds naked. Vanessa, my wife, if I came home and said, hey, I need your help, get a shovel, we're going to bury something, she'd call the police on me.
Oh, totally.
She's not going to fight the feds naked right out of the shower.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan...
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we love when growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I'm one of your three co-hosts, Roger Roper, and alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And Gene, Johnny Utah Lyons.
We gonna jump or jerk off?
And each week we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films from our childhood still hold up. Each week the audience selects from 4 movie choices that we then break out our VHS race car tape rewinders and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of the votes. At the end of each podcast, the three of us will provide you with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. You can also check out our other podcast, Shout on TV, where we review television such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, and you can check me out over at Show Spoilers, where we're doing Mr. Robot. That being said, Big D, this is our 50th podcast. This is our silver anniversary. We've been doing this now for just over a year. We're reaching 50 podcasts, and the audience keeps growing. I'm excited that we've reached this milestone. So what movie are we doing in celebration of that?
So I'm glad that we got it. Well, I think it's a good movie. We'll see if you guys agree. For our 50th. We should have probably picked something special, like something iconic, but that's not our way. So this was the best of Keanu Reeves, and the options were in last place, The Devil's Advocate from 97, one of my favorites, Speed from 94, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but the winner was the 1991 classic Point Break, starring Gary Busey, the star of last week's turd, Predator 2.
Yeah, you know... Again, I'm a huge fan of Bill and Ted. I would really like to review that movie. But Point Break, I remember really loving this movie.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be terrible. But I actually found myself tweeting last night, am I actually liking this movie? I was surprised.
Yeah. Did you guys see the remake? Has anyone seen the remake of Point Break?
I saw the trailer for it, and it looked like basically just like an extreme sports montage.
Right.
Was not really that appealing to me. But again, I could see where it was a little more true to what you were trying to do, though. Like surfing is not as extreme as some of the other shit that they're showing in the new Point Break. But I don't think I'd watch it.
I remember shortly after this movie came out, though, it was all about the extreme sport lifestyle. Didn't Dan Cortez get popular after this movie on MTV? Does anyone remember who Dan Cortez was?
Yeah, I remember Dan Cortez. Yeah, I mean the extreme sports thing was really big in the 90s when we were in our teen years. It was like, you know, they had the X Games came to the forefront, and it never really appealed to me. But there was definitely a wave there where everyone was very, very into skydiving and bungee jumping. I remember that. I don't know if surfing wasn't really a part of that.
Yeah, but if you go back and look at what you called extreme sports in the 90s, it's comical. It looks like the juniors. Like back, you would have like a 30-year-old guy like
rollerblading,
rollerblading
on Venice
and they
Beach.
would do like 360, or if it was a guy on a skateboard could do like a 360. Now people are doing like 1800s. They're like now, instead of just jumping out of a plane, now they have wingsuits and they're flying through like caverns and like little crevices and rocks. And now it's extreme. Back then, it didn't look that hard.
Yeah, this movie again came out in 1991 after a string of bizarre bank robberies in Southern California, with the crooks donning masks of various former presidents. A federal agent, Johnny Utah, played by Keanu Reeves, infiltrates the suspected gang, but this is no ordinary group of robbers. They're surfers, led by the charismatic Bodhi, played by Patrick Swazey, who are addicted to the rush of thievery. But when Utah falls in love with a female surfer, Tyler, played by Lori Petty, who is close to the gang, it complicates his sense of duty. So we always ask the question, where were you when you first watched this movie? Gene, we'll start with you.
So I totally missed this when it was in theaters. I think I was about 10 years old or something like that, and it went right by. I don't think it made that big a splash in theaters, honestly. People weren't talking about it. There wasn't much buzz. But years later, I had this friend, Alan Hunt, who's like one of the funniest people in the world, and he would always be quoting this movie and making references to it. So finally, he's like, let's watch it. And so we watched it. And ever since then, it's always had a special place in my heart. It's just infinitely quotable and has like, you can remember every scene in this movie, even though you haven't seen it for years. So despite its silly action sequences, like this is a landmark movie, that made a difference in a lot of our lives. And for me, I just caught on to it a little bit later. I think in my late teens at that time.
I'm like Eugene. I had never seen the movie in the theaters, but is anyone else a surfer? Like I grew up in Florida, and I know you guys didn't grow up in coastal areas, but did you know anyone who were big surfers in your childhood?
No.
I don't know if I've ever met a surfer.
So I was not a big surfer. I was more of like a boogie boarder, like growing up, but I did longboard. There's obviously not big waves in Florida. Maybe 6-foot waves is like the best day you'll have in Florida. But I did have a lot of friends who were surfers, and they worshiped this movie and had like every copy on VHS. I remember many high school parties going, and this movie would be like on in the background. So I think this was like kind of like our generation's Endless Summer. So if you grew up surfing, this was the first movie that you could identify with that lifestyle that everyone aspired to, that zen that Bodhi talks about being one with nature and like, you know, feeling the waves and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, you got to get it in your head. And surfing was more of a lifestyle choice. And it like set certain rules, like, oh, you can't fucking surf on this. This is our land. This is our beach. You know, I think it definitely had it had an impact on individuals who loved surfing in the Florida waves.
So were you trying to, infringe on Kelly Slater's beach in Cocoa Beach?
That's right. No, we didn't surf Cocoa as much. It was mostly Merritt Island. And then when my buddy moved down to Fort Lauderdale, I would use his longboard down there. He was big like you. He's 6'3". He played football at Jacksonville University, but he loved surfing, and so he had a couple longboards. So I would borrow his every time I would visit him.
I'm sorry, but we go to Cocoa Beach to sit by the beach. You know, take some beers, hang out. I don't think that counts as waves. That is not surfing. You got to go to Merritt Island.
That's why you got to use a longboard in Florida. That's why. I mean, listen, if you can surf Florida waves, you can surf any other waves. Because they're baby waves.
Longboard, small waves. They're
baby waves.
Yeah, so listening to Gene makes me feel like an old fucking bastard. I was trying to figure out, how did I not see this? Because I didn't remember seeing it as a kid in the theaters. And Gene said he was like 10 or 11. I had just graduated high school. So fucking, I'm the old, making me feel old. And after high school that year, I moved to Sweden for a year. And when I was in Sweden, the movies came out slightly different. It was more expensive. So you had to pick what you could really dedicate your money to. So I think I missed it because of the time it came out. But watching it now, I think it might have been the first time all the way through. I could remember all the key parts. So maybe that's just, 30 years of catching it on TV.
Dude, I would spend $400 of today money to watch this movie in a room full of Swedes in the 90s. That would have been fucking amazing.
This
like
is
trying to explain this to them.
Well, no, this is right around the time that the Swedish bikini team was on all the ads, right? With who was the dog? Spuds McKenzie. It was Spuds McKenzie in the Swedish bikini team.
So, like, I always thought the Swedish bikini thing was like an ironic joke. Like it's Sweden. Like, why would they be in bikinis? Was it a real thing?
Oh no, yeah. I'm telling you, Sweden in the summer is kick ass. They got a lot of like water. I don't want to say water. Yeah, water sports. There's a lot of there's a lot of lakes. There's a lot of the beach is a big component of Swedish summer.
If we ever do an album that's like the Shat the Movies greatest hits or whatever, I just want one that's Big D singing "Sweden in the Summer is kick ass."
What? Wait, aren't the Swedes big into going and having a sweat? Aren't they big into like this portable sweat lodges? They go out and they have a sweat. That's big in the Nordic countries, right?
I think it's a Scandinavian thing.
Yeah, it's a Scandinavian thing. That's it.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a sweat while you were out there?
No, I didn't.
They call it having a soak. They have a soak.
You seem to be having a lot of the answers here for somebody who's asking questions. So why don't you tell me about it? No, I've never done it, but I think if you've ever gone someplace cold and you're out skiing or it's a lot of snow, a sauna or an outdoor jacuzzi is a lot of fun.
Nice. All right. Well, let's play the trailer.
The ultimate rush. Nothing that comes close to it. Not even sex.
We are the ex-president.
Total commitment. It's a real thin line between life and death.
I'm not a crook.
It's not tragic to die doing what you love. If you want the ultimate, you gotta be willing to pay the ultimate price.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and please don't forget to vote.
You want to nail the bank robbers and be a big hero? Definitely. The ex-presidents are surfers.
You're trying to tell me the FBI is going to pay me to learn to surf?
Fear causes hesitation. Hesitation will cause your worst fears to come true.
We'll take it to the edge. Past it.
This is gonna be a great day, Johnny.
I think taxpayers would like it, Utah, if they knew that they were paying a federal agent to surf and pick up girls.
Babes.
Big one.
The correct term is babes, sir.
Adios, amigos.
100% pure adrenaline.
Neither one of you has anything even remotely interesting to tell me.
Caught my first tube this morning, sir.
Former Ohio State Buckeyes quarterback and rookie FBI agent Johnny Utah is assigned to assist experienced agent and veteran Angelo Pappas in investigating a string of bank robberies by the ex-presidents, a gang of robbers who wear face masks depicting former U.S. presidents. They raid only the cash drawers in the banks that they rob, never going for the vault, and are out within 90 seconds.
So the theme I want to set for this movie is just the transitional theme. This movie is moving from the 80s to the 90s, and there's so many elements going on here. So you had that homoerotic slow-mo in so many of the Top Gun scenes, like with the volleyball scenes. And in the opening montage of this, you've got the juxtaposition of Bodhi surfing montage with the Johnny Utah shooting montage. And you're seeing this transition of the 80s homoerotic slow-mo to the 90s cheeseball slow-mo that we see in like Starship Troopers. So this is a shifting of eras. And another theme that I saw throughout this movie that happens in this scene is you've got a great montage ruined by one guy dropping a fucking shitty line. And in this case, it was the FBI guy that's like, 100% Utah. And it's like fucking, you put us in a cool daze, then you ruined it.
But you also want to talk about the transition from the 80s to the 90s. 80s action seemed to be a little slower. It took a little more time to get going. If you think back to like Die Hard, the first 30, 40 minutes, it's a real slow burn. With this, it's more streamlined. There's no fat on the plot. It starts off with a great surfing shot, and it never stops. I think the 90s were a leaner time for action.
And I agree with that. And that shows in the scripting, too, because the scripting, as soon as we get into dialogue, it starts off strong. You've got John C. McGinley, who is gorgeous as the fast-talking boss. And Keanu Reeves keeps up with him. He's dropping lines like, I take the skin off a chicken, and he's getting called young, dumb, and full of cum. And it's just like, you're like, whoa, like this movie is right in your face right off the bat.
Well, one thing I didn't realize is that the movie was directed by Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, I was shocked. Those opening scenes, those surfing scenes are beautiful. They're cinematic. And you think today you see those shots because people have those HD GoPros strapped to the front of their board. Back in the day, you had to get a camera out there and film these surfing shots. So Catherine Bigelow, she can do action. And in case you don't know who she is, she won 2 Oscars. She did Zero Dark 30, Hurt Locker, K-19, Widowmaker, Strange Days, and she did Point Break.
Yeah.
She's also the ex-wife of James Cameron.
That's right.
James Cameron and her were married at this time. She was filming Point Break. He was filming T2. Mm-hmm. He ended up having a little thing for Linda Hamilton, and that ended the marriage.
Yeah.
But she can shoot action.
Yeah.
I mean, the film looks great. It looked 30 years later.
Well,
and it looks beautiful.
Well, the other thing that looks beautiful has anyone seen? You can find them like on YouTube, and I think behind the scenes of John Wick, Keanu Reeves at the gun range when Keanu Reeves is practicing for his John Wick role. I had no idea that this movie also starts out with Keanu Reeves at a gun range, and Keanu Reeves looks jacked in this movie, and he's doing pretty well at the gun range, and it looked realistic. And I think this was like his first big role kind of after the whole Bill and Ted thing, and so he kind of looked really good here. I think this was a breakout role for him.
Yeah, I mean, it was raining ridiculously hard during his timing or whatever, but yeah, he looked believable. And what I liked about that was, again, is that it's clearly him doing the stuff, and I'm not so sure it was Patrick Swayze doing the surfing. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but no. But point being is that, again, is that they took the time to really engage you, right? You know, with some action, like Big D said early, and it looked good. It looked believable.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of the chemistry? Because that's the key component of whether it's going to be believable or not. Gary Busey, we made fun of him last week because it was his first movie after the infamous motorcycle accident and his head injury. Mm-hmm. I felt like he had healed up a bit because in this movie, he was quicker. His lines were coming out. There was none of that odd delivery, lions and tigers and bears. So he was like a normal human being. And I felt him and Keanu, the chemistry was there, and Keanu actually seemed like a human being.
Yeah, he did all right in the chemistry between the two of them, but I thought Keanu Reeves, where he failed is when he's trying to act angry. Like, you see other actors in this movie, like Lori Petty, like Tom Sizemore, when they're pissed, and even John McGinley, like when they're pissed, it comes across, you know, like Keanu Reeves cannot do angry very well. It just sounds like he just like kind of whisper talks louder, you know. Oh, it's like it doesn't work.
I love, like you said, the chemistry. You're right though, that one scene where they're out on the cliffs inspecting the drop vehicle, and he's like, "Are you angry yet? Are you angry yet? Are you angry yet? It feels good, right? It feels good." Like it was like, come on, Keanu. But you're right, Gary Busey really surprised me in this movie. The whole pool scene when he's like, fucking 22 years in the field, and I had to go pick up blind. Like, what is that? If I'm an FBI field agent, when am I ever going to need to blind dive into a pool and get bricks? What purpose does that serve?
I mean, it could help you from A, drowning during surfing accidents, and B, if you ever have to fight a guy on the beach when there's waves coming, it could help you with that. So, I mean, it seems like reasonable, but what I don't understand is that Gary Busey jumping into the pool when he does that, like, off-balance cannonball thing and just goes, wah! Like, I had forgotten about that, and that needs to be, like, the most popular GIF of all time. Like, that could be used in so many scenarios. I want a campaign to bring that to the forefront of the internet.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to make that happen.
But you needed to establish that Gary's been in the field. Gary, what's his name? Because
no, just call him Gary Busey. Who fucking cares?
Angelo Pappas.
It's Pappas.
He totally looks like an Angelo Pappas.
Okay, so you needed to establish that Pappas has been in the field for over 20 years. He doesn't give a shit. He has no respect. And you ask, what could diving for those bricks help? Do you remember Lethal Weapon, where Mel Gibson got stuck under the pool cover? If he had done brick training, that would have been no problem for him.
Well, the other thing that I really like about this movie is one of my favorite bank robbery scenes of all time is The Dark Knight. But I really feel like the ex-presidents, you understood who they were and why they were so successful. They're not taking big risks. They're only going for the cash drawers. You know, they're in and out in 90 seconds. They're adhering to this, and it makes sense. And I felt like the shots were very believable in the same vein of, you know, kind of a Dark Knight.
Yeah, and they're having fun. Like, you got to love that ex-president shtick. It's hilarious. But what I really like is that these guys have studied their presidents. Like, they're playing the roles of the individual presidents. And it makes it kind of, the kind you said with The Dark Knight, it's charming and scary at the same time. It's very, like, these are my favorite scenes in the movie, are all the bank robbery scenes. Because they race by. Like, that time is ticking. There's tension. They're really well done.
And it helps that you have the masks, like the character, because there are times when they're yelling back and forth. They're like, LBJ, go check this, go do that. And they're like, okay. So then you don't actually do me like, hey, Gene, go check the vault. And you're like, fuck, I just blew our cover.
Yeah. Well, pursuing Pappas's theory that the criminals are surfers, Utah goes undercover to infiltrate the surfing community. He persuades orphan surfer Tyler Endicott to teach him to surf after she saved him from drowning during his first attempt at surfing. Through her, he meets Bodhi, the charismatic leader of a gang of surfers consisting of Roach, Grama, and Nathaniel. The group are initially wary of Utah, but accept him when Bodhi recognizes him as the former college football star.
So I grew up in New York. So I already said I didn't surf. I had an affinity for the Lost Boys and the beach culture. This movie made me so jealous.
Yeah.
I want to live on the beach. I want to surf. It seems like a cool existence. Did either of you ever have a prolonged period of time living in this type of environment?
I fucking hate beaches. So no, I hate sand. I hate waves. I hate the fact that like people go to the beach to just do nothing. I can't handle it. It's too low activity for me.
Every summer I would spend on the water, whether it was with my dad on his boat or in Daytona Beach, boogie boarding, or scuba diving. So yes, every summer I'd pretty much live this bohemian lifestyle. But like, again, I was kind of a nerd kid and I was an only child, so I didn't really have many friends. So it was just me hanging out by myself, like out in the water, wiping out and having a good time. But it would be nice if I was older and I could live that kind of. I've known people who have like taken gap years or work for companies like Intel where they have 3 months off and they can just fucking go to like Thailand and hang out. This one guy I know went down to Costa Rica, had never surfed before, but spent 2 months there learning how to surf, and he came back a changed person. I would love to live that lifestyle.
God, I remember in college we did a spring break to Cancun, and I think I organized, it was almost 30 of us, and on one of the last days we decided to drop acid, and I can remember us sitting on the beach being like, man, why do we do what we do? Why are we in school? We could live here. We could do hair braids. We could survive. Thank God I did not go with that thought.
Yeah.
Because, being 40 years old, living on the beach, doing hair wraps, not a good future.
Yeah. Does anyone find Lori Petty, who also played Tank Girl, attractive?
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God, yes.
God,
really?
Yes.
What's attractive about Lori Petty to you?
All right, let me. I'll take first shift on this one. So first of all, she's got gorgeous eyes. She's got incredible bone structure. Her voice, that voice, man, that scratchy, like
you like that?
Oh, it's amazing. So
Really?
as I was watching this movie, when she's mad at Keanu Reeves, she's yelling at him and she curses him. She's showing again in this movie what anger is supposed to look like. Keanu Reeves could take some notes there, but I noticed that and I'm like, man, she's insanely cute. And then I realized, oh shit, it's Tank Girl, and I had the most massive crush on Tank Girl. She's just so fucking cute.
Yeah, if you look back, I imagine if we look at the Rolodex of Gene's girlfriends, I would imagine many of them would resemble many characteristics shared by Lori Petty. But Big D, what about you? Do you find is she in your? Because you're not. I don't think that you would find necessarily Lori Petty that attractive.
Oh, I thought she was great looking.
Really?
She reminded me of the girl in The Legend of Billie Jean. I kept thinking it was the same girl, but it's not.
No.
Very attractive, very confident. She doesn't put up with his shit. She looks great surfing, even though it's probably not her. And as creepy as that scene is, I'm sure we'll get to it, where she's changing at the beach.
Yeah, it's a little much.
But she was very, very attractive. And I like that she doesn't take shit. She's not a weak she's not there for window dressing. She plays a key point in the plot, and
right.
I liked it.
I did like the fact that, they went for kind of a kind of tomboyish character because it made it a little bit more believable that she could surf, she could do all that. And like you're right, Lori Petty during this time frame, she was like kind of that go-to. Like Gwen Stefani kind of reminds me of that same vibe of early Gwen Stefani, not now Gwen Stefani. But like if this movie was remade, who did they cast as Lori Petty? Didn't they cast someone who's like a Jessica Alba type or something like that?
Some shit like that, yeah.
God, I don't know. Can I just ruin both of your vision of her now?
Absolutely. Oh, I know. She's on Orange is the New Black.
No, but she was in League of Their Own.
Yeah.
She was the player who's crying.
Yeah. Lori Petty? No, Lori Petty is the one who's really good at baseball. She's the sister.
Who's the one who's crying?
She's the sister.
Yeah.
The one who's crying is not, that's the one who's the mom.
Kit Keller was her name.
Kit Keller is the one who's really good. She's the pitcher. She's the sister of
okay.
Renee. Anyway, the catcher. Renee.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Zellweger.
It's definitely not Renee Zellweger.
It's the only Renee I know.
But is anyone buying the fact that a college football star QB could be like FBI deep cover? This would be like if Tim Tebow was in the FBI.
Yeah, you and I were talking about that before this. Would you risk putting Tim Tebow into the undercover world of the FBI?
Right.
People, granted, there's no Google. You can't go look him up. But everyone seems to know he was a big enough deal. It's like Matt Leinart or Reggie Bush. You'd be like, hey, Reggie, what are you doing here? I thought you got hurt and became an FBI agent.
I would really love it if Tim Tebow was deep cover at CIA right now.
Yeah, I also don't think you could just decide you're undercover. Like, you know, like you're just like, I'm a regular FBI agent. I'm a special agent. I go out in the field. I do investigations. I'm going to go undercover. Like, just
but that's
no approval process. Just let's do it.
Yeah.
But that's my point. You wouldn't put him. He's too recognizable.
That's exactly right. That's
He's
exactly
the last
right.
person.
Yeah.
You'd put Tom Sizemore. He's an undercover agent because he looks like some just run-of-the-mill drunk.
And I didn't have him pegged at all. I believe I forgot that he even was undercover.
Well, it's so stupid. His whole plan to infiltrate and get her, Lori Petty, on his side. It's a little unbelievable.
Unbelievable. It's a dirtbag move. You lie about your parents dying.
Yeah, and this is the thing. If I had lost my parents like Tyler, like Lori Petty's character, the last person I'd want to befriend is another person who just lost their parents. Like, first of all, I think it was a prank. I'd be like, if somebody came up to me like, oh yeah, like, you know, I gotta change my life. My parents just died in a car accident. I'd be like, all right, my parents just died too. The odds of that are really low. All right, who put you up to this? Like, what the fuck? And she's like,
right.
And that's the thing. One of the issues I do have in this movie, one of the weak points, is that people just believe rationale way too quickly. Like if Gary Busey came up to me and delivered the surfer theory, I would just be like, okay, that's fucking absurd. Like, you're out of your goddamn mind. And people just seem to be so easily convinced in this movie. And it's a motif throughout the film.
But you wouldn't believe it if somebody came up to you that you just met, they don't know your backstory. If they told you, hey, his story was believable. I've lived my life for my parents. They died recently. I'm changing my life. It was believable. Not everybody's going to be as cynical as you.
Well, Gene, unfortunately, you lost your father at an early age. Is this the first thing you pull out when we talk to random strangers at some sort of beach shack when you're getting some shrimp and fries?
Well, the first thing is my dick, and the second thing is the story about my dad dying.
Yeah.
And they go together incredibly well. You'd be surprised. But the thing is exactly that. So my brother died of leukemia. My dad died of a heart attack, both when I was very young. And if a woman came up to me at work and was like, "Oh man, I just moved here from Ohio, and my dad, died before I was born, and my brother died when I was 2," I'd be like, "All right, who the fuck?"
Yeah,
it's way too coincidental.
Exactly. Well, this movie also reminds me, the whole, I get that they're beach surfers and everything like that, but I felt a little out of character. The football scene was a little shoehorned in there.
All right, I could see Big D just drooling over this because you had the finer points of the Top Gun volleyball scene and then the Lost Boys surf Nazis beach massacre. And you put them together, and the only thing that bothered me about the whole thing is I was getting into it, and then I started thinking about, when you were a kid and you were playing football all day, and then the sun started to go down.
Yeah.
And you had that awkward 15 minutes of trying to play football in the dark by street lights, and just everyone's dropping the ball, and and you just realize you got it. You can't. It is impossible to see a football at night, and they're doing these 70-yard passes in the sand. It just,
well, not only that, didn't you and I try to play beach soccer, and we were winded within the first 45 seconds?
Yeah, but we're also not built like fucking Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves, so sorry, ladies.
But you got to remember, you've seen the way that they start a beach bonfire. They just stab a bottle of lighter fluid, dump it out. That bonfire and those 75 vehicles with their headlights, it's possible you could see. You wouldn't be having this, really, really refined game. It would be more sloppy, especially everybody's been drinking.
You miss one key component to starting a beach bonfire. It's stab the bottle of lighter fluid, pour it on the fire, then put your leather pants leg over it, and then you got to chug a Corona. That's how you start a beach bonfire.
Well, as he masters the art of surfing, Johnny Utah finds himself increasingly drawn to the surfer's adrenaline-charged lifestyle, Bondi's philosophies, and Tyler. Following a cue retrieved by analyzing toxins found in the hair of one of the bank robbers, Utah and Pappas lead an FBI raid on another gang of surfers. Despite their criminal records, these surfers turn out not to be the ex-presidents, and the raid inadvertently ruins a DEA undercover operation.
So Bodhi, we're introduced to him here. We get to know him a little bit more. He has a party at his house. He invites him over. He says, my house is yours. He seems like a pretty solid guy. I want to party with Bodhi.
Dude, he didn't just say my house is yours. He says what's mine is yours. He's talking about. That's
right.
He's talking about Tyler there.
Yeah, exactly. They're definitely becoming Eskimo brothers.
No, he's David. He's David in the Lost Boys, man. Like this is exactly what it is. He's just like, hey man, be one of us. Like join us. And fucking Johnny Utah's got to be the dickhead here.
Yeah, wouldn't you want to party? It seems like a good time. You have a wide range of people doing activities that are completely off on their own and abstract. I just want to be a wallflower, just sit there, have a beer, and just watch.
What bothered me about this whole thing is this is the first part of the movie where I felt Keanu Reeves was really in his natural element. He's a natural for the surfer role, and I don't understand why they did the whole.
He's from Hawaii.
Yeah, I don't understand why they did the whole football background and stuff. Why they couldn't just start him out as a surfer dude from a different beach or something, and that's what made him fit into the role.
No, the football, you needed it to establish him as somebody who could be respected. They think he's just some preppy nerd. When he comes out there and displays some football skills, and you know, Bodhi says, hey, don't you know who this is? It gives him credibility in the group.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be cooler if he was just another surfer who like came over here and now he's got to prove himself to this gang of surfers? Like,
but it's not a surfer movie. Then he wouldn't have a reason to go after the girl.
It's totally a surfer movie. The whole point of the movie is that they're surfers.
No, Raj. It's a movie about surf. It's a movie with surfing, but it's not about.
It just
surfing.
happens to have surfing in it.
Yeah, this movie is about time travel.
This isn't the fucking North Shore. It's not about fucking surfers battling it out for their skills. It's a bank robbery. You needed a reason to get Keanu in. I don't fucking care. I like it.
All right, so we talked a lot about Keanu Reeves. I want to talk about Patrick Swayze because he's a fucking beast in this movie. Like he is ripped.
Great.
He looks great. The beard looks great. The hair looks great. And he's just so charismatic. He's so beautiful. He's so believable in this movie. Like he is kicking everyone's ass in his role in this movie. And it's fucking heartbreaking because as I'm watching this, I realize like this dude is not with us anymore. And like it's really, you know, I love a lot of the movies that he's done, but I had forgotten how amazing he is in this movie. He's on another level in this one.
I really feel like he's mastered that art of being like kind of a Zen character, talking about why he does what he does, and it's believable. It comes across of why, you know, he doesn't appreciate violence. He doesn't want to kill anyone. He's only in and out. He's basically living. He's living his best life. Like he only does it during the summer. He only steals enough to be able to surf and be able to go from town to town. And so I don't know. I agree with you. Like if it came down to like your 80s action stars in the same vein of like a Patrick Swayze, who did you find better at this point in their career, Patrick Swayze or like a Tom Cruise?
Oh, well, I mean, it's a totally different thing, right? Cruise has that maverick, like, you know, no pun intended. He's got a $1 million smile. He's very flashy. You know, I get that. But Swayze was way more complex, a character. In every movie that he did, even as something as simple as like Dirty Dancing, you know, he could convey multiple things at the same time. Like in this one, is he a villain or not? I don't really know. And I think it's a really tough thing to pull off.
I also think Cruise seems more polished and artificial. Cruise doesn't remind me of anybody I've ever known. Whereas Patrick Swayze, there's an everyman about him, even though nothing about him physically or his skills are everyman. He is special, but he's down to earth. He's complex. There's more to him. I don't know if he was a brighter guy than Tom Cruise, but to me watching this, I don't know how he didn't become a bigger megastar.
Well, I mean, like this was also around the same time as like Roadhouse, and you mentioned Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancing was a couple years earlier than this, but I think Big D, you said there was an Easter egg about some of his other movies.
Well, I thought it was an Easter egg at first, and I was disappointed. I picked up where Johnny is reporting back on Bodhi's daily activities, and he reports that every day Bodhi and the crew have lunch at Patrick's Roadhouse. So I was like, oh shit, we got a call back to Roadhouse, obviously with Patrick Swayze. And then I did some research and found that it's actually a famous place that people have lunch on the Pacific Coast Highway in LA. So they probably threw it in there as an homage to Swayze, but we need to do Roadhouse. That is a great one.
We need to go to Patrick's Roadhouse next time we're in California, Gene.
Yeah, Raj and I actually we're planning a road trip through California. We're going to do Patrick's Roadhouse, and we're also going to stop at that little shack and get some fries and shrimp because that's that is what you do. Maybe Lori Petty will be working the counter. But you know, you talked about this, a little bit of a callback. But I also appreciate this movie is pushing the limits as far as for a 90s blockbuster film, action film. They're doing some writing tricks that I like. There's a lot of foreshadowing in this movie. A lot of things work in cycles. And one of the things that was really cool is at the party, Gromit says, "Hell, I'm not going to live to be 30." and you're kind of like, oh shit, and then he gets killed in the spoiler alert. He gets killed, and it was nice to see the movie just pushing some limits, doing some creative writing. They had lots of shades and texture to a lot of these characters, and I just wanted to applaud the creators for doing that.
Do you think it got the surfing culture correct? Like the whole, like when he's out at the Point Break and he comes into like the gang of people. Like I remember in Florida, like if you were not a strong surfer, you couldn't be around other strong surfers. You couldn't drop in on their wave. And I felt that's another thing that they got right about this movie is the surfing culture. Now, certainly I think they go a little overboard when the gang is, punching people, but there are reports of certain areas in California that take it to an extreme. Like you can't go to their beach unless you're part of their clique and part of that club. But it was nice to see the little Easter egg of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh man, I hate Anthony Kiedis so much, and just like I was so pissed when I remember that he was in this movie, but then I was so glad when he shot himself in the foot, and I was like, it was like a little cathartic for me to see Anthony Kiedis hurt.
Wait a minute, why do you hate Anthony Kiedis?
Because every fucking song is zoopa dabba doopa dabba 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 dabba. It was just it's irritating. His lyrics suck. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, I'm sorry everybody, they suck.
How dare you? No. Californication is
it's a shit turd.
Is one of the best albums ever made.
Mother's Milk. It's a good album.
But like I believe them as the gang of idiots that they go and they raid.
Yeah, and I'd be curious if somebody out there, because look at us, we're three dudes who've really never surfed, talking about whether the authenticity.
I surfed. I told you I surfed. Please. I wasn't a big surfer.
That's like somebody who drives their mountain bike on the street. They go, yeah, I'm a mountain biker.
You're terrible.
No, you're not a mountain biker. You're driving on the street.
I spent a majority of my life at the beach.
It doesn't mean you were a surfer.
I'm from Daytona Beach.
I could picture you sticking your board in the sand and then just laying there, like waiting for somebody to talk to you. I'm about to drop in.
I would just I would get some Mr. Zog's sex watch, and I'd wax my board. That's what I would do. I'd spend all my time waxing the board on the beach.
The home audience doesn't know a lot about our lives outside of watching movies and TV. I want to point out that Raj has a surprising amount of physical prowess. I don't know if I told the story before, but we went to the Renaissance Festival once, and he was throwing tomatoes at like a jester, and they had to cut the tomatoes in half because they were afraid that the guy was going to get injured by a flying tomato. That's how hard this fucker throws. So don't underestimate him, Big D.
No, there's a difference between throwing an object or dropping in on a tube at Cocoa Beach. So come on.
First of all, Cocoa Beach never has tubes.
Well, I heard when Raj goes to the beach, they cut his surfboard in half because he's surfing too hard. So you talk about whether they got the surfing right. I want to point out that they got the cop thing wrong. Like, you can't just go take physical samples off people's bodies and then analyze them. Like, that's a Fourth Amendment violation. You're not allowed to do that, cops.
Hey, but did you see the way he jumped in the pool? He doesn't follow the rules.
He's a rule breaker.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, well, you got so, like when Keanu's was pouring it on the surfer shtick a little bit too. Oh, you got something. Oh, it's a big one.
I saved your life.
I saved your life.
Dude, fuck that. The scene where Gary Busey just cuts the dude's hair, that was like the most genuine scene in the entire movie. He's like, he cut my fucking hair.
I don't think those guys were actually in the movie. I think they were actually on the beach smoking one. They're like, who the fuck was that? Was that Gary Busey? Didn't he get into a motorcycle accident? Is he okay?
He just runs into the surf and does that weird jump. Comes back up with 2 bricks. These beaches aren't believable either. They're awfully secluded for LA. Like, I've been to the beach in LA, and there's people fucking everywhere all the time. In this movie, Keanu Reeves like surfs uninterrupted, bones Lori Petty, and then they snuggle till dawn with no interruption, and nobody is around. Like, no problem.
Well, that was one of the weird things about the first time I ever went out to LA or to the West Coast is that you can camp on the beach. People like there's seemingly no rules to California beaches, which is strange because it's fucking California. Like, you would think there'd be a rule or a law or a regulation. You can't do that in Florida. You can't sleep on the beach. If you do, you'll probably get murdered by some sort of meth head, though. I mean, I don't think you'd want to. But what do you guys think of the whole when Johnny's late to the whole raid? What did you think of the whole raid scene?
Well, first of all, I don't remember him driving that muscle car around. Suddenly he's like zooming around in a muscle car. He gets there late. He's got like, You know, he's got to go grab the radio out of the other car. He's got his gun unholstered. It's just a big mess. And I'm pretty sure like that is such a liability because if any of that were to go to court, which it will, there were fatalities.
Yeah.
When that goes to court, they're going to be like, okay, we want toxicology tests on all the cops. Like we want everybody to be checked to see if there's anything in their system. And they find out when this guy was partying and having sex with a potential informant the night before, showed up late, you know, and half dressed for this. He's fucked in court.
But why are you even bringing him to this raid? You're going to risk burning him?
Agreed.
That surfer group, they had just beat him up. If any of them survive this encounter, either you're planning to go in there and kill them all or keep him at home. You're wasting all of your time and effort that you've put into getting him undercover.
All right, but those complaints aside, this raid is the best action scene I've seen in a while. Again, you go back to Bigelow being able to shoot an action scene. Yes. The tension is high. The sound is like the percussion of the punches and the strikes. It's banging. All the characters are involved. Nobody's left out of this. I mean, even naked people coming out of the showers. But I am curious, like in real life, a gang, if they see feds outside, are they really pulling all these weapons out? Like, it seems a little unlikely.
The hand cannon. I mean, fucking, these guys are armed with like six shooter, little. I'm not a gun expert, but like, how big of a caliber is that little snub nosed six revolver that Keanu? Is it Keanu? No, it's Busey has.
Yeah, he's got a 38. It's a classic.
38, okay.
Yeah, it's a classic detective piece. That's not even gonna, that's like any class 2 or higher body armor. That's not even going through it.
Yeah, but how good did that how good did that high waisted thong woman look? That was totally 80s, right? Like I was like, I can't wait to go look at my dad's Playboys.
Have you seen the meme that I'm having a long ass day? Like that's her ass was a mile long. What was going on there?
It didn't look normal. It didn't look normal at all. I felt like you could drive your car across like a waterway on her ass. That's how big it was.
What's weird though is if you turned her horizontal and then you actually measured the trajectory of it, it was the perfect wave that Patrick Swazey dies on. Spoiler alert.
Well, speaking of women and asses, how about that naked woman in the shower, huh? Like she comes, like she is bad. Like she's the best gang member. She's the only one who's got her shit together.
I want a woman who's that loyal. She
right?
That's going to fight off the feds naked. Vanessa, my wife, if I came home and said, "Hey, I need your help. Get a shovel. We're going to bury something." Right. She'd call the police on me. She's not. She's not going to fight the feds naked right out of the shower.
I want to point out that they had a couple kilos of meth in the house, so chances are, like, she might have just shaked a little off and then coming out of the shower.
Okay, so what woman would you rather have on your side? Would you rather have a meth blonde in the shower with the scissors that knows, I guess, some karate moves, or the Colombian girlfriend from Predator 2? Which one would you like to have in your gang of people?
Is that even a real serious question?
That's a very real question.
What? The Colombian girl just hid in the corner and did nothing.
I know, but
if you had put 5 of these shower chicks in Predator, the Predator's dead in that opening scene. Plus she was quite attractive.
Yeah, but it's the Colombian all day. Come on.
Can we talk about the real star of the raid scene, which is Tom Sizemore? Like, I'd forgotten he was in this movie. He is great as Dietz, the undercover DEA agent. Like, he is what I would classify as an acting heavyweight, and it adds some complexity to the plot. That they did not know there was an ongoing DEA investigation. Again, adding to the litany of fuck ups by Keanu Reeves and Gary Busey. I mean, they're at this point they should have been completely lost their badges.
Yeah, but he's asking questions that he's like, you think I like having her like this? You think I look? I was like, fucking dude, you actually look pretty good. Like you're young Tom Sizemore with some frosted tips.
I think it was perfect because I kept thinking to what happens to Tom Sizemore. Have you guys ever seen the adult film with him?
Oh, yeah. Ooh,
where he
it's really sad. It's sad to see the decline of Tom's, and he's like addicted to meth. I think he recently cleaned up his act and found Jesus, so I think he's on the path to righteousness now.
I think when he was doing Saving Private Ryan, that he had to submit the drug test because he went off the deep end.
Every 2 days or something like that, he was tested. It might have been every week, but I know Spielberg had certain conditions in his, and it was a favor that Spielberg was doing to him, and that's why he did so well. If you haven't seen Saving Private Ryan, and Tom Hanks is great, Matt Damon's great, but it's Sizemore that really steals the show and put his career back on path. But anyway, watching Bodhi's group surfing, Utah begins to suspect that they are the ex-presidents, noting how close they are and the way one of them moons everyone in the same manner as one of the robbers does when leaving the bank. Utah and Papa stake out a bank, and the ex-presidents appear while wearing a Reagan mask. Bodhi leads Utah on a foot chase through the old neighborhood, which ends when Utah causes an old injury to flare up again after jumping into an aqueduct. Despite having a clear shot at Bodhi, Utah does not shoot him, and Bodhi escapes.
Okay, so we've praised a lot of the action sequences in this movie, and I think they do hold up. But some of the writing, the way they get to those action sequences doesn't always make sense. And the robbery one was absolutely ridiculous. They're sitting in the car, and Gary Busey out of nowhere is like, "Oh, I'm going to keep reading comics because that's what you do on a steakhouse." And then he's like, "I want 2 meatball sandwiches, 2 sandwiches. There's sandwich right around the corner. Can you go get it? Get the 2 sandwiches." And I'm like, "What?" Like, as soon as that happens, I go, while he's getting the sandwiches, and then Keanu Reeves, like, is so preoccupied with sandwich buying that he doesn't notice the car pull up and all the presents go in. He notices the car, but not fucking 4 masked men jumping out of it.
Well, it's also, this is the era. I mean, Calvin and Hobbes was still fresh run comics, so you can understand why Gary Busey would be distracted by that. Also, did you guys notice the price of 2 meatball subs, tuna on wheat, 2 lemonades? Only $7. That's a fucking great deal.
Yeah. I was noticing the same thing, and I was like, holy shit. And this is in LA, so I mean, God damn, what happened, guys?
Inflation. But you got up until this point, I had praised the movie. I was really on board with the action, Bigelow's direction. But this is where the movie starts to veer off. It starts to teeter to go off the rails here, because I really feel the first half of this movie is solid. Second half of this movie, starting here, is where it starts to lose me. Because that whole running through the neighborhood scene, way too fucking long. Takes way too long.
Dude, forget about how long that scene was. In the Army, you have to do training with your gas mask on. Imagine somebody says, go out, we're going to do calisthenics, we're going to run through an obstacle course, breathing through a straw. It is tough to do. How the fuck could Bodhi have done that entire run, breathing through that tiny mouth slit in the Ronald Reagan mask? His cardio is on point.
Forget fucking trying to like run with a mask on. We grew up in the same era of Halloween. Remember those little masks with the little rubber band and like the little, just a little bit of fucking shit. Like it would cut you and you couldn't breathe and you were just like walking trick-or-treating, holding candy bags.
Plus you have no peripheral vision.
None. None.
But yet he's like a ninja.
Well, also, like, why would Keanu Reeves' character immediately give himself up if he thinks that these are the gang of people that he's associating all his free time with, that he's deep undercover? Why would his first reaction be freeze, FBI?
Yeah, he should have had like a vice president mask on as he was chasing him. It would have really fucked with their heads. But beyond all that, you guys mentioned the chase scene and it going on too long, but it was really well shot. Like the pursuits angles were really great. The 90s version of parkour, I guess, but bursting through the houses, doors flying open, the guy throwing the pit bull, which I didn't really like that part. Like, yes. and then to add insult to injury, Keanu Reeves then drop kicks him, like fucking punts the dog across the yard. I'm like, that was completely unnecessary.
Yeah, I wrote that's the first time I've seen a dog used as an aerial weapon, like you're throwing at him. But how funny would it be to put the music from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the backyard scene, the dun 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 to this scene? I think it'd be hilarious.
But have you guys seen True Detective season 1?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh fuck.
They do
one of the best.
They do that great single shot. It's a continuous shot scene where they're running through the houses. That bit, it's like really the climax. Yeah. And it's so well done. And this sequence kind of reminded me of a predecessor to that. Not as complex, but really well done. But in the whole thing, what I don't understand is they give no reason why Pappas and Utah don't call for backup. They're in the squad car. They've got radios. It's a high speed chase in Los Angeles. There's no helicopters. There's no other squad cars. What's going on here?
So again, it's explained by their mishap the day before. They've lost all credibility. Any lead that they give, their superior is not going to believe it. If they hadn't had the misfire at the Anthony Kiedis at the what do they call it at the
Zuba Dabba Dabba?
I know, at the flop house. If they didn't have the incident at the Flophouse, they probably would have had the bank surrounded and they would have been caught.
Okay, so you're telling me that John C. McGinley's character, the boss, the FBI director, is going to continue letting these two turd nuggets continue on with their investigation after they don't call for backup, and during the whole chase scene, blow up a fucking gas station and still don't come. Like, Bodhi fires his gun but doesn't hit him? Come on, like, he's completely being taken off the case at this point.
Fuck, how badass, though, was that flame-throwing gas station? Ronald Reagan? Okay, look, it's ridiculous. I see you shaking your head.
Super ridiculous.
It is super ridiculous, but it is still beautiful to watch.
Yeah, but that's completely unlikely.
Of course.
Kids, don't do this. Don't try this at home.
No.
Don't wear a Ronald Reagan mask and try to light a gasoline hose on fire. You'll end up doing much more damage. But does every action movie set in California eventually have to have a scene in the fucking aqueducts?
I think the aqueducts are so central to LA geography. Like when you're going around, they're there. They're ever present. I think it does, but yeah, it is like they're like, well, what are we gonna have him injure his knee on again? Like a fence? Nah. Jumping over a wall? Like oh, I know. LA's got lots of aqueducts. Let's make it happen there. And also, like, you think that if you had a bad knee like that, A, the FBI might be like, maybe not special agent, but B, you just be more fucking careful.
That's right. While at a campfire that night, it is confirmed that Bodhi and his gang are the ex-presidents. Shortly afterwards, Bodhi aggressively recruits Utah into going skydiving with the group, and he accepts. After the jump, Bodhi reveals that he knows Utah is an FBI agent and has arranged for his friend Rosie, a non-surfing thug, to hold Tyler hostage. Utah is thus blackmailed into participating in the ex-president's last bank robbery of the summer. As a result, Gromit, along with an off-duty police officer and a security guard who both try to stop the robbery, are killed. Angered by Gromit's death, Bodhi knocks Utah out and leaves him at the scene.
Okay, so have either of you ever done skydiving, tandem, or any individual?
Yes, absolutely. I've gone tandem once.
Okay, so I've done one civilian tandem jump, and then I have my jumps in the military, which are static line. As an amateur, if you threw Gene out of an airplane, there is no way he is going to be in any kind of controlled descent. He would be tumbling out of control the entire time. And most likely, the chute would go off by the altimeter, but they would not be doing these formations and talking. And you'd be more concerned about Keanu flying into your chute or hitting you and knocking people out. So it was unbelievable, but very cool scene.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's directed very well. It looks beautiful, but it's fucking unrealistic. Again, this movie goes off the rails in the second. It becomes completely unbelievable. Like, I was trying to justify. I was trying to ask myself, why is this scene even in the movie? Why would they try and recruit Utah to go on this jump? They know that Utah is the FBI agent. They know that they've captured Lori Petty's character. Do you believe that the original purpose of him going on the plane was so that they could kill him? Was so that his chute wouldn't open?
No, I don't think so. This is, as Bodhi said, this is just a way to up the stakes. Like, he's having fun at this point. And you got to think that Bodhi, again, he does not want to do transactional actions. He's about transformation. Like, he wants to change the world. And this would be a big win, taking this, formal football star, FBI agent, and bringing him around to your side. I think he really wants to do that. I don't think it's their intent to kill him. If they were going to kill him, they just would have killed him.
Yeah, but think about it. They're shuffling around the parachutes, and I tried. You ever play the cup game where you put the ball under in your shuffling around? The shell game, right? Bodhi's like, "Well, take mine," right? And then one of the other guys says, "No, use mine." Blah blah blah, and they shift it back. They eventually give back his original chute, which to me tells me that they were not going. It was the chute that wasn't going to open, and Bodhi is the one that actually pulls the chute out. He doesn't pull the string. He actually pulls the chute out so that Johnny can land safely. So that tells me that Bodhi, the original intent was to kill him, and then Bodhi saved him at the last minute. That's my own theory, but I could be completely wrong.
So yeah, that shell game with the chutes made me nervous, and it made me think back to the military. In the Army, there is an MOS, that guys who just pack parachutes. So that's their primary job. And just like any other job, you have bad days, you have good days. To stop the chute packers from having bad days, once every month or so, they will just grab you and say, hey, pick one of your chutes. So you have to pick one of the chutes that you packed and you have to jump it. So it makes sure that if you've gone out the night before, getting drunk, you're hungover, and you're not paying too much attention, knowing you could jump your own chute, you're going to pay attention to it.
Obviously, Keanu Reeves' character failed at whatever class they teach FBI agents to say no to things. Because he's like, it doesn't take very much for them to convince him to do anything. They're like, you got to come parachute. And he's like, no, I can't, my knee. And he's like, come on, you got to do it with it. He's like, okay, fine, I will.
Have you ever shot heroin? It'll get you like straight into the zen. It'll balance your chakras.
No, I can't do that.
Okay, let's try it just a little.
That's right.
And then they're like, well, it's okay, we're going to land in water, which was completely unnecessary. I thought there was going to be some cool water scene. No, they're just landing in water because they like to get wet when they land. I don't know. But, the other thing that bothered me, again, I've never been skydiving, but I did some research on it, and the average skydive is about 60 seconds of free fall, and then the rest is, controlled into the chute. They were like free falling, it felt, for like a good 7 or 8 minutes. It went on a long time, and it was just dudes showing other dudes like, hey, this is beautiful. I'm fucking the sky, or whatever the fuck they're saying. God's giving me a blowjob in the clouds. Woo!
Well, think of the last, talk about 60 seconds of free fall. In the last bank robbery scene, they go beyond their original 90 seconds. Did you like this? What was the purpose of them going through all that?
Oh, dude, the last bank robbery scene was so good that I forgot to take any snarky notes. Like, I watched the whole thing and went, oh, shit, I haven't written anything in 10 minutes. And then what they do, what the movie always does, is they throw it into the trash with the clunky cop talk, tough guy one-liners. And that's why I feel like, again, this is two different movies. Like, they needed to tone down the cops and let everything else just ride. But I thought the shootout was great. Where people got pinged by bullets looked really good. The tactics, actually, compared to some of the other shootouts, were fairly reasonable. I liked it.
Talking about reasonable, am I correct in assuming here? The undercover cop pulls out his gun. He tells the security guard, hey, I'm going to make a move. You back me up.
Right.
The guard didn't move, right?
No.
So he left the cop out to dry.
No, the guard got up and fired too.
The guard got up, but
did?
I mean, the guard does.
Yeah.
The guard does not. All right. So you're former military.
Yeah.
Right. You've and Gene, you don't carry a weapon with you on all times, but you do have guns. If you're placed in a situation like this, the last thing you're going to do is fucking get involved.
Dude, they say early on in the first robbery, they're like, all this money's insured. It's not worth fucking.
That's
and
right.
It's absolutely true. If there's bank robbers, they clearly want one thing. They want the money and a clean exit. They're not raping anybody. They're not fucking executing people. Have the fucking money.
Also, he's a cop. He knows that the ex-presidents have robbed 30-something banks without hurting a single person.
That's right.
Why would he risk this? He ends up getting himself killed and however many of the bank customers.
So stupid. So dumb. And why did they go to the vault? Why is Bodhi's character so obsessed now with pushing the limit?
So Bodhi knows that he's going to go to Australia and that's it. He knows that this is it. This is the last job. And so he's there. He's going big to get the money to never have to do this again.
But also they're burned. Their anonymity is gone. They can't come back next year and start again because the FBI knows who all of them are.
Okay. So I guess that makes sense. But had they just gone to the cash registers, had they stuck to their plan, they would have been fine. He could have been out surfing the waves in Australia. Well, defying their senior officer who arrests Utah for armed robbery, Pappas and Utah head to the airport where Bodhi, Roach, and Nathaniel are all about to leave for Mexico. During a shootout, Pappas and Nathaniel are killed and Roach is seriously wounded. With Roach aboard, Bodhi forces Utah onto the plane at gunpoint.
Johnny Utah's going to jail. He is an accessory to armed robbery, to robbing a bank.
Right.
The fact that he says they made me do it, that doesn't work. Do you remember a few years ago that guy who walked into a bank to hold it up? And he had a device around his neck.
Right.
And it turned out that somebody had kidnapped this guy. They put an explosive device around his neck, said, go rob the bank. When we get the money back, we'll let you out.
Wait a minute. Was that real or was that just a plot of a movie?
No, it was real.
That was real?
Yeah. It was real. So the cops catch the guy, and he's out in the middle of the street screaming like Saw, help me, this thing is stuck to my neck. Get this thing off of me. The cops don't make a move, and the guy's sitting out there. It explodes and kills the guy.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so it turns
this
out
is
they
real?
Totally real, yeah.
I don't understand how more people don't do this.
Because it didn't work.
It's pretty complicated, too.
What do you mean it didn't work?
They didn't get the money. The cops caught the guy before he could deliver the money.
Yeah, but did they catch the guy who put the thing on?
No, but he didn't get anything for it.
So you're telling me the guy who made this contraption and captured this guy is still at large?
Yes, and you see he didn't do it again, so obviously it didn't pay off.
Oh God, that's my biggest nightmare is like being in some sort of, like you said, like some sort of Saw contraption and have to do this.
But typical cop movie, you know, when you start talking back to Gary Busey, he just hauls back and knocks out his superior. I don't think him
that would never
or
happen.
The bank robber, Johnny, are going to be getting into their car and riding off to continue the chase.
Exactly. Also, like, I get that Lori Petty, is an attractive female who taught you how to surf and you've been spending a lot of time with her, but she straight up tried to kill you. She straight up fired a gun at the pillow next to you. And you've only been dating like a month. Like, if some crazy bitch tried to kill me.
Whoa, crazy. Tone it down there, tough guy.
She's crazy. She fucking fired a gun.
Why is she a bitch? This guy lied to her about everything to get her into bed, and you're calling her a bitch?
Does she? Okay. One of my favorite songs is Crazy Bitch.
Oh, God.
So yeah, she's definitely listen.
No.
How would you
angry woman? She was scorned.
Please, hey, before we record any more podcasts, have you been listening to a lot of NWA?
No.
Okay, good. Keep going.
But like,
I want to know about any of your other favorite songs before we continue.
Fuck the police.
No, so my bigger problem is that she tried to kill him.
She tried to kill him, and they've only been dating a month, and suddenly he has this inner desire to go completely against any FBI regulations, go into this armed robbery so he can fight. Like, listen, I've.
Oh, so you're saying why would he risk his life? Just
why
let
would
her
he
die?
risk his life? Yeah, well, yeah,
okay.
That or let your other FBI friends go and track her down.
I'm saying more the relationship is over. He can't fix that relationship. Forget about her shooting at him. He lied to her in the most personal way and betrayed her to get into bed.
Yeah.
I'm more surprised the fact that she comes running to him at the end, like she still's open to a relationship.
Right.
He's a dirtbag. Like what he did was the lowest of the low.
And he got her captured. He got her captured by Bodhi's goons. But listen, if I get captured, will you guys come try and save me?
Not after you just said that bitch comment. No way.
You guys are terrible. Well, once airborne and over their intended drop zone, Bodhi and Roach put on their parachutes and jump from the plane, leaving Utah to take the blame again. With no other parachutes available, Utah jumps from the plane with Bodhi's gun and intercepts him. After landing safely, Utah's knee gives out again, allowing Bodhi to escape Utah's grasp. Bodhi meets with Rosie and releases Tyler, who reunites with Utah. Roach dies of his wounds, and Bodhi and Rosie leave with the money.
So I don't understand why they even took, if they didn't intend for him to jump with them, if they were just intended to leave Utah on the plane, why the hell take him with you to begin with? Like, you're taking a federal agent on your getaway plane. It makes absolutely no sense.
No, it makes complete sense. I paid attention to it because I kept having the problem and then I solved it. The reason they take him is as Bodhi's getting on the plane, the other guy yells at him the destination of where they're going. So if he leaves Utah behind, they immediately know where the plane is going, and they're flying low to avoid the radar is defeated.
Forget the reason why he's on the plane. Why do you jump out of the plane?
Oh, it's obvious. He's got nothing else to live for. He knows he's going to jail for the rest of his life. Your life is fucked. You have nothing else to do, but you're going to try to get Bodhi. Take him with you.
Really? That's what you would do? That's your maneuver? That's your grand plan?
No, my grand plan is to try to go to Mexico with Bodhi, but my backup plan would be probably try to kill him.
If you're ever in this situation and two guys jump out and you need to somehow follow them, and you also need to have a gun in your hand when you do it, don't. Because I don't care how strong you are. If you grab onto another guy and then he pulls it, you cannot hold on to another human when they pull their chute. You, at best, you're going to break both of your arms, but you're not holding on. It's impossible. The force is way too strong. It's like trying to like brace yourself from the dashboard during a car accident. It's not going to work.
But again, the problem that I have with the second half of this movie is they keep regurgitating the same shit. Another fucking plane, another parachute, another knee, going out of the socket and him not being able to do anything. Like, it feels like they didn't know how to end this movie correctly.
No, it's just escalating the stakes.
Yeah, I disagree, because one thing is, again, they're showing patterns that these guys, the earlier parachute scene is to kind of demonstrate that they have this capability and when things go right and when things go wrong. And then I think, again, with the knee thing, his knee never heals. It's fucked up, and they're trying to kind of press that point that he's pressing on through an injury. It's kind of like in Die Hard, how Bruce Willis's body is just, consistently deteriorating. I get what you're saying. Like, they do kind of go back to the well here, but I think it's with reason. Again, I think it's, there are a few ways to end this movie that make more sense. So, I mean, other than the fact that Johnny Utah just gets fucking killed, or he should have just gotten shot on the fucking tarmac and that's the end, but it still works.
Yeah, talk about him getting shot at the airport. I didn't expect Utah to get his partner shot. So the fact that Gary Busey gets killed there, I thought it was a nice, it caught me off guard. I didn't expect it, because usually in these movies, everybody walks away.
I don't remember Gary Busey dying in this movie, but again, it's a stupid plan. What are they trying to do? All he has to do is get the local police involved and delay Bodhi from ever taking off. And all he has to say is, listen, just tell me where Tyler is. Just tell me where Tyler is. Like, you owe me that much. Like, I'll let you get away with this, but let me know where Tyler is. And then the whole plan is that the two of them are going to take this gang down together. It goes completely wrong. It goes the way that you would expect it to go.
If you learn anything from Bad Boys, just take the car and try to hit the airplane.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, 9 months later, Utah tracks Bodhi at Bells Beach in Victoria, Australia, where a record storm is producing lethal waves. This is an event Bodhi had talked about experiencing, call it the 50-year storm. Utah attempts to bring Bodhi into custody, but Bodhi refuses. During a brawl in the surf, Utah manages to handcuff himself to Bodhi, who begs Utah to release him so he can ride the once-in-a-lifetime wave. Knowing Bodhi will not come back alive, Utah releases him, bids him farewell, and sees him step in towards the wave. While the authorities watch Bodhi surf to his death, Utah walks away, throwing his F.B.I. badge into the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, this part was just kind of like, I mean, I get why it exists. I get that the movie had to end this way. And I respect them for not taking advantage of the disappearing into the ocean to make a Point Break 2. Like, leave the movie alone. Like, I get that, even if you're going to remake it and make it terrible. But I thought that it was awkwardly played out. Like, the fight was just weird.
Agreed. Like, in my opinion, there needed to not be a fight. Again, you're going back to the well. We've already seen them wrestle around. It just became long and overdrawn. You could have had the exact same ending of the movie with them just talking. With him saying, listen, I pursued you everywhere. I barely missed you, in Thailand. I tracked you to Mexico City. I've been on this giant goose chase for the last 9 months. And then, they could have had like a Zen talk. Patrick Swayze could have convinced him to let him go. Let him just, hey, let me just do this. I need this for me. And then he could have done it and then throw his FBI badge away. Like, it could have been, they didn't need this fucking fight. It felt like the overdrawn out fight in Mission Impossible 2.
I don't know the background on this, and maybe you guys do. It seemed like an add-on. Like, it wasn't the normal ending, because Keanu's hair is noticeably longer. That is his hair. And I know the next movie that he filmed was Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. So I got the vibe, like, some time had passed from the end of the movie from filming. They needed to do some add-ons. It just felt a bit disjointed, because how is Keanu still in the FBI rocking that hairdo?
I agree.
No, I mean, I thought to me it felt like it was an homage. Like it was to show his transition into this way of life. He's been surfing every day. Like, it's changed his life. But again, how he is still an agent and then allowed to operate internationally is beyond me. But I do agree with you, Raj, that this should have been a talk. And maybe the handcuffing thing. I did appreciate that when Patrick Swayze is handcuffed, when Bodhi is handcuffed, there's a genuine look of anguish on his face. Like he would cut off his arm if he could to surf this wave.
Right.
And I felt like that was a really powerful imagery. But yeah, it should have been a talk, not a fucking another fist fight.
No, it didn't need another fucking fist fight.
With the slowest moving police response I've ever seen. Like, guys are coming in by helicopter, and then they wait an hour before, like, trudging across the ocean or the sand, and then just kind of yelling. Like, it was, that part was ridiculous.
Right.
Too. Australian police, if you're in an emergency, you're fucked.
Well, now's the time of the podcast where we break out our shot meters and give you our wipe scores. If you've never listened to the podcast before, 0 wipes. is a perfect movie, and 5 wipes is the equivalent of stabbing a bottle of lighter fluid and dousing yourself and your leather pants all over it. So that being said, 0 wipes is good, 5 wipes is bad. Big D, how many wipes do you give this movie?
God, I can't believe I'm going to do it. And I know you're going to shit on me. I got to give it 1.5. I thought the film held up really well. It looks great. The action for one of the first 90s action films, it was fast paced. It moved. If you could almost do this movie today I know they did the remake, but the remake was ridiculous. If you just updated technology, the music, it seemed like a current movie that I would want to see. I was expecting it to be a dumpster fire, but I found myself actively engaged. Keanu Reeves, maybe his best performance. I really, really liked it. And I know you're probably going to laugh at it, but I think 1.5 is fair. I'd watch this movie again, and I think it was good.
You're giving this 1.5 stars or 1.5 wipes?
I really liked it. Yeah, I can't explain it.
Oh my God. All right. Gene, how many wipes do you give this movie?
So I disagree with Dick on the Keanu Reeves thing. He's awful. Like he is the sore spot in this movie, and I kept thinking that there are, if you took modern actors from today, you take a Ryan Gosling or a Liam Hemsworth, like they could really kill this movie much better. I just couldn't take him seriously during points, but the rest of the cast really carried through. Lori Petty, Tom Sizemore, Patrick Swayze, Gary Busey, like all of them did fantastic jobs. The action sequences were fantastic. Just really love watching them, and it just had some enjoyable, really memorable parts. Again, I thought they executed bank robberies and chases better than lots of movies of this era, but it did suffer from some clunky writing. The cop scenes really didn't work for me. For me, it still does hold a very, again, I would watch it again right now. I give this one 2 wipes, and I want to point out that I watched this late at night when I was exhausted after an entire day, and I was right on it. Like I was alert and engaged. So 2 wipes for me.
God, both of you are crazy. I don't know what's happening to both of you, but this movie is definitely not a 1.5 wipe score, or even a 2 wipe. This movie is definitely 3.5 wipes. It's below average. The first half of the movie is fun. I'll give you that much. But the second half of the movie goes off the rails. It's unbelievable. You don't understand why a character would do that. It doesn't make sense. The first half of the movie has great pacing. The second half of the movie, they go back to the well multiple times. They elongate things. The fight sequence at the end is unnecessary. For that reason, it should have never been remade. This movie is not that great, guys. It's 3.5 wipes. So with that being said, what is the average score we're going to give this turd?
So the average between the three of us, Big D being 1.5, me being 2, and you being a cruel 3.5, would be a 2.3 repeating wipes.
Big D, let's judge that against our other scores. Where does this put this?
So that ties it in the 23rd spot with Rocky 4. It is a little bit better than Ghostbusters and a little worse than Major Leagues.
All right. Listen.
This movie's so much better than
that feels fair.
I agree.
Major League is better than this movie. Major League is better than this movie. No, that feels right. That feels right. All right.
Yeah. Major League to you is a 1.5. That's the difference.
Major League is a fantastic movie. It's far superior than this one.
No.
All right.
So
that being
the 23 spot feels about right.
That feels about right. After 50, this is a little bit better than average. Okay. All right. Well, now's the time where we do our shout-outs. Gene, what is a shout-out?
Raj, a shout-out is a way to show your support for Shout the Movies. You just go to shoutthemovies.com, scroll down, you'll see a slide out, and you put your name right in there. We'll read it on the podcast so you can be a star and tell all your friends. This week's shout-outs come from Moxie and her beefcake.
Uh-huh.
Hans-Henrik Grolsted.
He's from Sweden.
No.
Yes. No. He likes a good sweat.
Likes to go get a sweat on.
And Ray and Samantha. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Again, if you'd like to get a shout-out on the next Shout the Movies, just go ahead to shoutthemovies.com and wait for that slide out. Put your name in there, and we will get it on there. Thank you so much, everyone who wrote in.
Big D, you're going on vacation. We're recording this early. You're going down to Brazil with the wife and your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come back, we're going to be recording what? What's going to be our next podcast after that?
So and that's why we packed these 2 recordings in quick. So the internet in Brazil wasn't up to snuff, so we wouldn't have been able to record. So at least there I can edit. It's a good category. It was one of our most highly voted on. and it was 90s serial killers. We had well over 1,000 votes. In last place was Scream, second to last Natural Born Killers, Silence of the Lambs in third, and then the winner at almost 49% of the votes, over 600 votes on this one, was Seven from 1995.
Yeah, it's interesting timing that we're doing Seven because I loved this movie. I love Brad Pitt. I'm also a big fan of Kevin Spacey, but with all the recent news about Kevin Spacey, it kind of makes me not want to do this.
It's about the movie. It's not about Kevin Spacey.
I know, but like, it's going to be weird for me to all right.
Hold on. So wait. The fact of Kevin Spacey, his sexual harassment, is going to make you look at a serial killer worse?
Yeah, I mean, he's not a pedophile. He's just a serial killer. No, but like, I guess what I'm saying here is like, can you watch The Cosby Show anymore?
I never watched The Cosby Show.
No, but all right. So can you watch Bill Cosby stand up anymore?
No, I never thought he was funny. I would never. No, of course I can. I haven't watched the last 2 seasons of House of Cards just because it became too real and it became stressful. But I can disconnect the two. I won't go seek it out. But this is his old stuff. I'll be able to watch the movie without letting what's happening now in the news, seep in.
Okay.
And if he was the main character, maybe. But for God's sake,
he is the main character.
No, he is a serial killer who's in maybe 15% of the movie.
Spoiler alert.
Well, that concludes.
God, if you haven't seen it by now, it's not a spoiler alert.
Yeah. What's in the box? Well, that concludes this week's episode of Shout the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're everywhere, including Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. Just follow the handle @ShoutTheMovies. You can also search for us on Facebook and like us there. Our website is Shout the Movies, where you can vote on all our upcoming movies. We go weeks in advance, so just click the vote section and see everything there. If you want to email us some really good suggestions, and I think we got like 40 different movie suggestions recently from what was their name, Big D?
That was from Moxie and her beefcake.
Moxie and the beefcake. What do you think her beefcake is? Do you think that's a pet, or do you think like that's her boyfriend?
I'm hoping it's a boyfriend.
So you can email us, hosts@shoutthemovies, with your movie suggestions. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube. You be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by iTunes, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. That really helps the podcast grow.
Yeah, and listen, a lot of people get there and they see, oh my God, I have to write a couple sentences about the podcast. You don't have to. If you just go to iTunes or any of the other podcatchers that you subscribe to, just hit the 5-star. You don't have to write anything. It helps us. We don't ask for money. We're not doing Patreon gated content. So if you just want to take a second and help us out, it helps us grow. It helps build the audience, and that's what it's all about. Please take 5 seconds, hit 5-star. You don't have to write anything. It still helps us.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is that was the plan. After 50 episodes, we're going to put a paywall up.
$600. Boom.
That's right. Well, you can also check out our sister podcast, as I mentioned before, Shat on TV, and Show Spoilers, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Mr. Robot. Be sure to find all the information there and all of our subscriptions at the websites Shat on TV and RealSpoilers.com. On behalf of my co-host Big D and Johnny Utah Lions, I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week for our review of Seven, our serial killers. Thanks so much for listening. Take care. Good night and good luck.
But it was sweet when they killed Ellis, and with the